Ladies and gentlemen, Grievous Bodley Hunniford.
How are you, Terence? It's so nice to see you. I want to tell you straight away, you're a much more handsome man today than you used to be. They're saying. You are. You're a fine figure of a man, Terry.
It's not my best side, have you?
It's true. I've seen your best side, and it certainly isn't your face.
You want to see me when I'm rested?
That's true.
There was a lot of hairspray those days, wasn't there?
No, it's hysterical, really.
Yeah, that was terrific. I had no idea you were so good.
Oh, thank you.
Because I never watched it when I wasn't on.
No, I know you were away sort of wine and dining.
Yes, I was.
It was very exciting, though, for me, because obviously just to come to Radio 2 and work was exciting, because I never really wanted to come to London particularly. I was offered the job, so I was very lucky. And then to be doing that, and then to do your stand-in, you know, when the master was away, then the rest of the cats got to play. And it was very exciting, because it was such a huge programme.
And you were, I think I'm right in saying, the first female talk show host.
It's very funny, you know, when you're not looking for a job, you'll say a lot of things that you don't mean to. And I had made in Ireland a record, and I was so determined that Radio 2 was going to play it, that when I was in London doing a bit of shopping, I kind of just rang up and said, who is the controller? May I come and see him? And went in armed with half a dozen albums. And I was about to start a television job in Northern Ireland, a big contract, you know, at night, tea time, you know, between 6 and 7 news programme. So I was well set. So, of course, this controller said to me, do you like Radio 2? I said, very much, you know, holding the record and hoping he'd get it played. He said, is there anything wrong with it? I said, absolutely. You have no women on it. And I said, what makes you think that, you know, people at home, only men want to listen to men and women only want to listen to men? Why don't you have a girl? And, of course, not looking for a job at all, and told him a few other things. And then 3 years later, he rang me up and said, would you like to dip for good old JY? Which is where we really met face to face for the first time.
You ought to push yourself forward a bit more.
Do you know, I remember my opening line to you. You know that interchange that you had with JY, which apparently the Queen and the rest of the royal family used to listen to? I remember the first line because you said something like, hello, and I went, look at you. My grandmother has been listening to you for years and years, telling me all about you. And there you are, dirty old dressing gown, egg-stained, not shaved, and nothing's changed really. That's still how you turn up for Radio 2.
It is, but the radio you don't have to get dressed up.
That's true.
That's the beauty of it. But no, you were always a bandbox yourself.
I know. You were the one who actually gave me the peg of black stockings and suspenders.
Yeah. Well, it was true to life.
He's got a racy side
There's no
to him,
lying
you know. I mean,
here.
he likes to be all Mr. Innocent, but he's racing. He's racing.
Damn you.
The secret's out.
You cannot bruit this kind of thing abroad.
No, you used to wrap things like suspender belts around my microphone. Don't ask me why. Well, he did.
Anybody can make a boyish mistake.
Didn't get you very far anyway, I'll tell you that.
Might as well have wrapped them around the...
It's
anyway.
true.
Now, you interviewed Salman Rushdie. I'm sorry to miss that myself, but in 1992, that was quite a challenge.
Well, it was.
Well, let's have a look at it, because I thought you did brilliantly here.
Thank you. What an occasion.
You know, I would never have thought that you turned out to be such a nasty piece of work. Talk about eggy.
You know, I tell you, a little terrier when I get going.
Oh, you bite lumps out of people.
There's a fascinating story about that, though, because obviously it was after the fatwa had been issued, and Salman Rushdie had been in hiding, you know, for quite some time. And only the producer, the editor really, Peter Estelle, whom you knew, of course, very, very well, and security in the BBC and myself knew that he was coming, because it was the first live appearance since the fatwa had been issued. So the first time we'd been cited. So when I came on and did, you know, oh, tonight we have Natalie Cole, da-da-da-da-da, but first, when I mentioned Salman Rushdie live, the audience just went, because it really was an event. But the thing was that I actually, what I knew about Salman Rushdie ahead of the interview, you could have put on my thumbnail. But what I did, I actually paid somebody to do extra research, and I sat in a hotel for a day and a half to read about him, because I was anxious about it. And I wanted to give him that hard interview, because my background was news. And what I didn't know about him by the time the day and a half was up, and by the time the programme came, wasn't worth knowing. So I was quite confident in giving him a tough interview.
It's a great interview.
Yeah, but the log to the BBC was hysterical because half, a 50-50 split. The literati, of course, of the country said, "How dare you attack this marvellous writer?" And the other half, ordinary people said, "Good on you, give him a rough ride." So it was a landmark for me.
Good for you. Now look, join me after the break. I'll be talking to the great Gloria about her new book that celebrates the extraordinary life of her daughter Caron, and I'm pleased to say it's selling in its hundreds of thousands. Somebody's called you the Empress of Blarney. Don't you hate that?
Oh, I hate it.
Oh, I hate it. Blarney. Nobody in Ireland, nobody Irish, ever kissed the Blarney Stone. That's for tourists.
Do you know what you wrote about me once? You said not only had I kissed it, but I'd swallowed it.
Do we have to go back over things like that?
Yes, we do.
Now, can we just talk about your daughter Caron, whom I loved, and everybody who knew loved. We worked together in the Barcelona Olympics, I remember. She's a terrific girl and a great presenter, much loved. She passed away in 2004, I don't have to tell you that. What inspired you? Why did you write the book?
I wrote it for many reasons, actually. First of all, I wanted to pay tribute to Caron because it's such a huge, huge loss in our family, in my life and our family life. Wanted to pay tribute to her because she was a wonderful girl. I wanted to finish what she'd started off because when she died, Russ gave me diaries. They weren't chronological, they were notes and jottings and thought processes. And it was clear that she started to write 2 books, one about her upbringing in Ireland and a whimsical look at that. And the other was what she had learned during her 7-year battle. And the most important thing of all was I wanted to write it for her 2 little boys, for my gorgeous grandsons, Charlie and Gabriel, because I'm the only person left who knows Caron's story from birth to death because sadly her father had passed away as well. And I wanted those boys, when they're old enough, whether it's 16, 26, 36, research shows that they will want to know more about their mum. Research shows that whether you're adopted or whatever way you've lost a parent, you want to know more when the time is right. So I feel it's like my legacy to them, that the story is there for the right time.
Are you thrilled that how well it's sold? I mean, it's incredible.
Well, I am, but that really wasn't the motivation. No. I did it for the story, but and I didn't know the book industry at all. And of course, I said to the girl recently at the publisher, Louise, I said, "What was your expectation of this book?" She said, "I sweated at 150,000." When in actual fact, it sold nearly 700,000.
Amazing.
It is amazing, but it's Caron because it's amazing how her story touched so many people because she was so much loved, and a lot of young girls her age grew up watching her and repeat her, wanting to be Caron, dress like her in a zany way. And the result of the book has been, it's like it's taken on its own life and a little life of its own, and it's like Caron is still working, she's still getting that message across, which is really, it's very gratifying is hardly the right word, but it's humbling in many ways. And I know that she'd be thrilled, but the help that it's giving people is diverse. It's not necessarily to do with cancer. For example, a young girl wrote to me recently and she said, "My mum sadly died 6 months ago." And she said, "It's only through reading your book that I know that my mum loved me unconditionally." She said, "I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't read this mother," which was lovely. And I met in the loo yesterday. You have great conversations in the loo, don't you really? But I met this young girl who said to me, "I'm a nurse," and she said, "I've finished the book." Now she is working within the cancer ward. But she said, "What the book has shown me is how I, as a nurse, need to be as sympathetic to the family who are trying to cope with cancer as I am to the patient." She said, "It's given me a great insight." And the reality is you very rarely get a chance to hear someone's thought process. I mean, Caron wrote very graphically about how she felt at the second of diagnosis, how she felt when she was under a machine waiting for radiation, how she felt when a nurse was about to put chemo into her veins. And you rarely get that insight. So I think that's why
I'm sure
it's grabbed the imagination.
Yeah. I mean, I've no wish to undermine the sensitivity in the story, but there is a story about you in the unisex loo in the BBC. And you're in the loo, and you like to talk in the loos. Fellas don't talk in loos, women talk in loos. You're in the cubicle, someone comes in, breaks wind, and you say, "Is that you, Mary?"
as if I'd heard it a million times before. No, but actually, it's true. There's so many stories from the loo in Radio 2, because at one point there was only the one loo at a time when unisex was not popular.
Yeah.
And I used to meet Steve Wright in there before, because Radio 1 and Radio 2 were going out at the same time. Like, we were broadcasting the same time. So we used to compare notes. Who do you have in your programme today? Who do you have in your programme today?
Oh,
and this is the way it went.
Oh, look at your underwear. Isn't it lovely? And stuff like that.
I never saw him in action, thank goodness.
Thank God for that. Yeah. But the hardest thing of all, of course, is as a parent, and we won't dwell on this, but as a parent, to lose a child. That's, it's the wrong way around.
It is the wrong way around, and you would change places, because as a parent you want to fix that, cut knee, you want to soothe that sore throat. And when your child is suffering from something like cancer, it is the most helpless, frustrating, and in the end devastating feeling that you can ever have. And I'm not undermining, I would hate to undermine any grief, because I believe that grief is grief. But I've lost parents, I've lost a former husband, I've lost friends, colleagues. There is nothing. To lose a child is on a different Richter scale altogether.
Has it taught you anything about living your own life? Has it taught you about living from day to day? Has it made you perhaps a little bit...
Caron, she was so strong and so courageous, and she taught us all during her 7 years how to live for today, how to live for the now, how to live in the second, how to be optimistic, because she never talked about death, only life. And so we learned all of that. I think what happens when you go through such a devastation is that you lose yourself. I mean, as her mother, I lost myself for some time. I don't know that I've even got myself back.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Because you can't carry a baby, give birth to a baby, and adore and love that baby for that number of years without this, huge void that's quite simply will never close over. It won't, because you can't, and nor would you want to replace a child. You can't anyway, and you wouldn't want to. So that void is there. So an elderly lady wrote to me very shortly after Caron died. I thought it was really cruel at the time, and she said to me, "I'd like to tell you it'll get better," she said, "but it won't." And I remember thinking, how could I live feeling like this? I just couldn't survive feeling like this. But she said, one day you will learn to live through it and around it. And she was right, because there comes a point when, quite frankly, it's sink or swim. You either have to join the human race again and live for your sons, in this case my husband, the rest of my family, your grandchildren. You have to join the race again. And she was right. You just learn to live around it. But what I think I've become a much more compassionate person. I have a very deep understanding of what people go through. It's not a club I'd like to belong to, but I meet parents all over the country now who've lost a child. And you become that kind of club in a way. I was talking to a woman in the street recently, so we were only putting money in the meter, and she'd lost her son, I'd lost my daughter. And we stood there, perfect strangers, talking for half an hour, with the most detailed details, and yet we said goodbye, went our separate ways. I'll never see her again. But we, opened our souls to each other, really. And that is what happens.
Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you very much, Terry. She loved you, by the way, too.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a pleasure revisiting old times, new. We wish you all the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, Gloria Hunniford.
Thank you very much. Thank you.